Like I mentioned, Crumbl's a very tech-forward company, and we actually built our own point of sale.
Wow.
That all the stores use. It uses Stripe as our merchant processor. Yeah, we built it ourselves.
How did that happen? Is the founder a tech person?
He is, yeah. So Jason comes from a tech background, and he saw the amount that our franchise partners were spending on Square, because originally we were on Square. The costs associated with that, some of the fat in the program that we were paying for that we never used, as well as some shortcomings in other areas. He's like, we can do this better.
This episode of the Cloud Accounting Podcast was recorded at the Oracle NetSuite SuiteWorld Conference in September of 2022. To learn more about NetSuite and the SuiteWorld Conference, visit netsuitesuiteworld.com. Welcome to the Cloud Accounting Podcast. We are recording in Las Vegas at SuiteWorld, and I am Blake Oliver.
And I'm David Leary.
And we have a special guest today, Mike Card.
Hi.
Mike, welcome to the show.
Thanks. Yeah, happy to be here.
Your LinkedIn says accounting for cookies.
Yes, it does.
That's my favorite LinkedIn subtitle I think I've seen yet. Tell me, why accounting for cookies?
Yeah, basically the last 5 years of my life have been about cookies. It's been a lot of interesting conversations around cookies. So I thought it was an appropriate title.
And that's because you're at Crumbl.
I am at Crumbl, yes. I am the VP of Finance over at Crumbl, and I've been working with Crumbl since they started.
Okay, so I have not had a Crumbl cookie, but my daughter is like obsessed. She's like, you gotta have a Crumbl cookie. And now, am I summarizing the concept correctly? Or you kind of make the cookies extra thick, and then at the point of sale or the point of purchase, you guys crumble them or break them, and I buy crumbles?
No,
is this how it works?
No.
I've completely stole concept. Okay, I was like, it's an amazing business model. They're selling broken cookies. Okay, all right.
That's an interesting idea. I'll bring that up with R&D. But no. It's just, just amazing gourmet cookies. The fun thing is you get to check every week what the cookies are going to be. We have a wide variety, and it's on a rotating menu. So if your cookie's up, you better buy it, because it might not be around for even up to a year.
Limited edition cookies.
Basically, yeah.
Okay.
And so before we get into NetSuite and all this other talk, which has been the reason we want to talk to you and how Crumbl's using NetSuite, but you're a bookkeeper, you had your own bookkeeping firm, you got into tax and accounting, you worked for years, like doing that. And so now is this like the peak of your life? Like is it all downhill now after this since you're working for a cookie company?
I mean, definitely, I don't know if I would find an industry that would be more enjoyable. But that being said, it's worked out really, really quite well. My goal was always outsource accounting services and then find a client that's doing something amazing and jump on board. And it worked out really well.
So they were a client of yours first?
Yeah.
Okay, so tell us the truth. Like,
yeah.
They come to your house or the door and they say,
quite
do my
literally.
books.
Yeah, quite literally.
Okay.
Yeah. So the founders, it was a family practice. My mom and I, she had helped them with some tax stuff. She's more on the tax side and more managerial. She had helped them with some tax stuff on a previous venture. So they stopped by and said, hey, we're going to start baking cookies. We need accounting done. We said, yeah, we can help with that. And it was pretty awesome. It kept growing. They started franchising. We started doing the accounting work for a lot of franchise partners. Our firm grew along with Crumbl.
And what were you doing the bookkeeping on then?
We provided services for the franchisor, the corporate entity, and then we started providing bookkeeping services, tax services, payroll, sales tax, all that fun stuff for all of the franchisees as well.
And on NetSuite from day one, or were you on other stuff?
QuickBooks Online.
QuickBooks Online. Okay, got it.
And so we were providing these services, and it kept growing, and our firm kept growing, and it was just this wild ride. And then there came a point when Jason, the CEO, pulled me aside when I was at the office. One day I was working over there, and he pulls me aside and he's like, hey, we need finance in-house. We need to be serious about finance. And he asked me to come on as the controller. So I did, and started as the controller. Continued working there. It was kind of a one-man show for about a year and a half, which was a pretty hectic year and a half of my life. At which point there was a title change. I brought a lot of people on board, and we're rocking and rolling.
So when you came on board full time in-house, how big was Crumbl at that time?
Came on like right before the major closures started. So during the height of the pandemic. So I came on full time in 2020. And at that point, oh, you're testing my memory. I don't remember exactly how many stores we were at that point. I think we were in the mid 200s at that point.
Okay, so that's a pretty decent size franchise or business going on.
We had a lot going on.
Yeah.
And then did you make the migration to NetSuite?
Yes. Yep.
And what was the breaking point? Why did you do it?
Yeah. I think I got tired of having to use spreadsheets to do consolidations. And I was seeing the direction things were headed, right? We were starting to get more involved in the supply chain process. We were looking at massively expanding what we were trying to accomplish, and the complexity of our entity structure was growing. And I knew we needed something that could last us for years. And so I started exploring, and we landed on NetSuite.
So what are you consolidating? What's the entity structure?
Yeah. So parent company holding our franchising entity, a supply chain entity. We only have one corporate held store at this point. But as we continue to grow and expand, we're going to open a few more corporate stores. There's going to be other expansion opportunities that come up. And the idea is that everything will live under that parent overarching company. And so being able to consolidate by type of business, like consolidating all of the corporate store entities into a single financial statement for evaluation for analysis purposes, but also obviously tax purposes. We're rolling everything up. We need some clarity there. So
what I love about, I think, you, Michael, you're really the stereotypical listener of the Cloud Accounting Podcast. You were doing bookkeeper and QuickBooks Online or Xero, and you have that experience doing multiple businesses. And then now, boom, you're doing the ERP, you're doing a full rollout. Like, how did you, get the confidence to do that? Right? Because a lot of people get that imposter syndrome, like, it's NetSuite, it's too intimidating, I can't do that.
Yeah.
And then B, like, how did you do it? Like once you got the confidence to do it?
No, great question. And honestly, imposter syndrome is a real thing. There's a lot of that, but you come to realize that everyone is figuring it out. Everyone is figuring it out. So if you are willing to work hard, you can pretty much do whatever you want. That's at least the realization I've made. I work hard, and I'm willing to learn, and I am not afraid to say I messed up and admit that quickly. If you make a mistake, admit it quickly, work with the people you need to get it fixed, move on. Problems that fester, those will ruin you. I've seen that happen to some people. So yeah, that was kind of the mentality that I adopted as I was moving into this. The question came down, hey, come on as a controller. I said, yeah, I think I can do that. Yeah. Make the move, leave the family practice. That was scary. That was hard, unexpected. My mom was very supportive. That was great. And then, just every new day at Crumbl, it seems, exercised that muscle for me of saying, I don't know how to do that right now, but I know I can figure it out. Trusting myself to be able to rely on resources that I had available to me and ask the right questions. And it's one thing led to another. And then when it comes to implementing the ERP, honestly, I relied pretty heavily on my experience with QuickBooks Online, right? Because when you get really into QuickBooks, you'll notice where there's holes. You'll be like, hey, wait, I want to be able to do this. I can't. And the more you work with businesses that are growing, you're going to start seeing those walls pop up, right? And even there's ways to do some things in that system that you realize, or you feel like there's a better way to do it. So as I started hitting those walls, it gave me the resources I needed to ask the right questions in the ERP process. And again, I just approached it accepting the fact that I don't know everything, but being quick to fact check people as well. I did a lot of fact checking against the salespeople as we were looking at ERPs. And I don't know how much they actually enjoyed working with me, but it worked out.
So your in-depth knowledge of QuickBooks Online, of what it can and can't do, really set you off the right foot of what you're looking for in an ERP.
Yeah. I mean, accounting software is accounting software, right? So I felt hyper confident with my experience in QuickBooks Online that I could look at an accounting software, even a much more robust one like NetSuite, and say, okay, this is what it's missing, or this is what it has that I'm currently missing, or this is what I need to understand about how it works. Now, as far as all of the other aspects of an ERP, that's where I started seeing that I had blind spots, right? And that's where the questions come in. But I'm not afraid to just beat systems to a pulp, trying to make sure that I understand how they work. I break systems quite regularly in my processes, and that's learning happens at those points, and I love that.
So where did you go to learn what you needed to know about ERP and NetSuite?
Yeah, I mean, it starts with Google searches. I talked to a lot of people that I trust. I do have an awesome series of mentors that I can refer to and ask questions to. Highly recommended to anyone who's hoping to kind of follow a similar path. And I was able to start bouncing things off of them. And really, almost more than anything, in a lot of instances, it just gave me the confidence that I needed to know that I am asking the right questions, right? And asking questions that you think sound dumb is not a bad idea. I did quite a bit of that during those few months while I was exploring ERPs, asking questions that felt super obvious, but it actually turned out to be extremely beneficial because either they'll explain it because it's an easy question and they're happy to answer easy questions. Salespeople love easy questions. So they'll answer easy questions all day long and you'll get the information you need. And if it's not an easy question, how they go about answering it, you'll learn a lot. You'll realize, oh, this is possibly a weak point in the ERP, or this is a very complex aspect of the ERP, but if it's critical for me, I need to dig. So yeah, it's just communication, it's interaction with those people that you get to work with, and everyone's trying to do the right thing, right? Everyone's trying to help each other accomplish our goals. Salespeople, they're trying to get a sale, but if they make a bad sale, it's going to come back to them. We need a good product. If we're terrible to work with, we're not going to have a good experience with the product, right? So just trust that people are trying to work towards a common goal. Make sure you establish that goal. Things will go well.
What else did you look at?
As far as like ERPs, yeah. We looked at Sage Intacct, brief stint looking at SAP, and then I was told that was not the direction to go. From what I saw, I could agree with that. But yeah, it really came down
because of the price?
Yeah, the price, and Crumbl's a very tech-forward company, and I think I probably would have given my CTO a heart attack if I told him that I wanted to use SAP. We had a very interesting conversation even around NetSuite. Financial softwares are, generally speaking, a little bit slower on like the up and coming tech side. NetSuite does a pretty good job, but I had to help them understand, no, that there's improvements in the system. You're not working with the original Oracle system here. You know, we have something that's a little bit better. But anyway, yeah, we looked at Sage Intacct. It was a cool solution. I think there was a lot of good. What it really came down to was, as I was asking them, can we do this? Can we do this? And I was way down the road at that point. I was like, how does it handle multi-subsidiary, multi-currency? You know, like I was trying to be as future looking as possible in my questions.
Global empire of cookies.
Exactly, right? We want to be the global cookie company. So the questions I was asking, Sage had many more instances where they said, we don't do that yet, or we don't really support that. This is how you would work around that. Whereas NetSuite was very quick to say, yes, we can handle that, or we have a partner that can handle that, or we have an integration that can handle that. And that gave me the information I needed to know that NetSuite was the system that would be the most future-proof for us. So that's where I went.
So obviously you landed on NetSuite, you picked NetSuite. Can you paint a picture of what your app stack, your tech stack was before and where you're at now and kind of the timeline of that migration process?
Yeah. So before NetSuite, we had QuickBooks Online. We used Divvy as our corporate card and spend solution, and Bill.com as payables. But Bill.com and NetSuite kind of happened around the same time. Those came on board around the same time. And honestly, more than anything, it was, we have an ERP, let's flesh out our processes. So like around the same time the ERP came online is when I started being able to hire more aggressively onto my team. So it's not really that we've replaced things on our tech stack, it's that our tech stack became fleshed out, right? And it's still very much so in the process of being fleshed out. We're looking at, we're using the NetSuite's warehouse management solution, the WMS, but we're actively exploring improved ways to approach AR and AP and procurement. We're talking to a lot of vendors. That's why we're here. Is really we're working with as many vendors as we can to make sure we have a clear picture of what our options are.
Who have you been visiting around the show floor?
Oh man, I think we've pretty much talked to everyone. But some major ones that we're looking at Coupa as a potential solution for kind of a holistic approach to the whole procure all the way through pay process, really streamlining that. that's something we're exploring. We've also looked at Esker, but I don't think they're here. I haven't seen Esker, but that's another one we're looking at, kind of in that automation and more holistic process solutions. I mean, Paystand, Tesorio, looking at some payroll stuff. Papaya is kind of intriguing. Papaya.
What do you use for payroll now?
We're on ADP. We're using their total source solution, PEO, because we're growing so fast. Being able to have them deal with all of the regulatory stuff, it's been very valuable. So we went with the more expensive option that got out of the way of our growth. And that is something that we've done on occasion. Honestly, we've made judgment calls like, hey, it's more expensive, but it gets out of our way. And we can just focus on what we're good at, which is franchising and making awesome cookies. So, yeah.
So we've been asking NetSuite customers about what parts of the suite they're using.
Yep.
You know, how full suite ahead are you? As that is the theme of this conference.
Yeah.
So you said you're using warehouse management, which is a NetSuite add-on. What else?
Yeah, we're using the fixed asset management module. We're using, I don't remember what it's called. It's like advanced accounting solutions. I don't know. We are very close to be using the revenue recognition module. And we also are actively building out the OneWorld module as we're moving into Canada. So,
and what are the revenue recognition issues around cookies?
Yeah, right.
I'm trying to imagine
that.
it.
It's actually much more around the franchising side.
Okay.
The initial franchise
fee.
Yeah. The initial purchase does have to be recognized over the life of the agreement. So, yeah. It's a small enough part of the business that we haven't used it yet, but we're getting to the point that it's a good thing to automate.
Well, and if you sell cookies on a subscription at some point, then you're going to have to, the onboarding fee is going to have to be amortized over the life of the customer.
Absolutely. That may very well come. So,
what do you use for e-commerce?
Yeah. So, like I mentioned, Crumbl's a very tech-forward company, and we actually built our own point of sale.
Wow.
That all the stores use. It uses Stripe as our merchant processor.
Mm-hmm.
But we built it ourselves.
How did that happen? Is the founder a tech person?
He is, yeah. So Jason comes from a tech background, and he saw the amount that our franchise partners were spending on Square, because originally we were on Square. The costs associated with that, some of the fat in the program that we were paying for that we never used, as well as some shortcomings in other areas. And he's like, we can do this better. That's like if there's a sentence that describes Jason McGowan, it's we can do this better. He looks at things in a way that other people don't, and it's so great. So he committed to it. We brought on Bryce, who's our CTO, and together they started building. So
that is amazing. A cookie company that built its own point of sale system.
Yep.
I mean, hey, that's revenue recognition someday when you decide to license that out.
Yeah. Shopkeep
for sure
was built. Jason Richardson had wine shops, and he couldn't get what he wanted. He built the first iPad point of sale.
Really?
And that was eventually became Shopkeep.
Oh.
But now this is interesting because you're up there in Utah, in this what do you call it? Silicon Slopes.
Yep.
Right.
Very close.
Divvy was there. There's
Yep.
lots of startups there in that scene.
Oh, okay.
Is there an itch here, some part of your founders where why don't we just spin out this point of sale as a standalone company?
Definitely a possibility. And we've been approached by a number of brands asking to license the software, but we want to perfect it a little bit more and make sure that we have something that's truly unique and excellent before we start taking over that market as well. But
does NetSuite have a point of sale in as part of the suite? You have an opportunity here.
Yeah.
Well, and they could be truly sweet. With Crumbl.
Oh, there you go. Oh, I love it.
Evan would like that joke, I think. I hope. What hardware does it run on? iPads or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All of our stores run iPads. The kiosks are iPads, but there's a lot of technology around. We actually have a very awesome dev team that has been doing a lot as far as gathering data and improving automation and functionality and consistency in our kitchen processes. So yeah, there's more than just a few iPads involved.
So you have iPads back in the kitchen too for
Yep.
when people are making the cookies?
Yep.
And
Every cookie, you have an iPad with you that walks you through every step of the process, and
quality control there.
there's a lot of quality control.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And so do your franchisees make the cookies at their stores?
Yes. Every store is a bakery. Raw ingredients are brought in through Cisco, who's one of our partners, a few other smaller partners, but primarily Cisco. And then we ourselves focus on those specialty items like the gummy sharks for Shark Week, for example. We go about sourcing all of those because it happens once a year. It's not realistic for us to try and expect a third party to handle that well for us.
Right.
So we handle the acquisition, the bringing it all in and shipping it out to our franchise partners. And that's that supply chain arm that triggers the warehouse management. So
If I wanted to open a Crumbl,
yeah.
like what's my buy-in as a franchisee?
Yeah. So the initial franchise purchase, and we're actually in talks about this right now, and I don't actually know for sure what it's changed to, but I believe it's 50,000 is the licensing purchase.
Mm-hmm.
But a given store, depending on where you're at, obviously build out costs are going to vary, but you can expect it to run you between $300,000 and $500,000 to get fully up and running. First week's inventory, our stores cash flow very fast. Yeah, very, very fast.
Well, the cost of goods is very low. I assume it's a bakery business.
And the retail price is very, very high.
Very high.
Yes.
It's very, very
Yes.
high.
Yeah.
Yes. So yeah, no, there's really good margin. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. Michael, if people, obviously, they can go to Crumbl
Mhm.
at the website and order cookies and have them delivered, or they can curbside pickup and all these crazy options. But what if somebody just wanted to talk to you? Our listeners are like, hey, I have a client that maybe needs to make the next step, or they want to just connect.
Are you hiring?
Yes, actually.
There you go.
Kind of always at Crumbl, and not just in the finance area, but actively, I'm looking for someone for corporate FP&A. We have kind of two arms of FP&A. We have our unit FP&A focused on store financial and performance, and then we have our corporate side. And looking for a staff accountant, pretty entry-level staff accountant on our supply chain side. So
Okay, great. Well, we have students that listen.
great.
We have people who do FP&A that listen. So
You have people that like cookies.
we have people that love cookies.
There you
I mean,
go.
I love. Who doesn't,
There you
right?
go. Yeah.
Well, if those folks who are listening want to, find out about the jobs you've got available, where should they go?
You can just go to our website. There's a section with job postings there. We're on all of the major job posting places. And if you're in the area, you can always just stop by, say hi. We've got a merch store in our corporate offices. And
In Orem, Utah.
oh, actually, we just recently moved. We are in Pleasant Grove, Linden area. Yeah, we got enough space for us now, which is nice.
And that website is crumblcookies.com, CRUMBL cookies.com.
Correct.
Mike Card, thanks for joining us today.
This is great.
A lot of fun.
Appreciate it.